They got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't.
Oh man, I got the fam in the building. You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene with Wole. I'm joined by founder of CWall Sports Entertainment and Bowie TV's Commanders reporter Candi Waller. Also got Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Commanders reporter Donna Hopkins. What's up, Donna and Candi?
Hey, Candi, the music got me like pumped. I thought I had more time with the music. I'm not real sure why. I was like, the music was jamming. I was like, he had me pumped up. I thought we was getting ready to go to a party. Yeah, I'm like, okay, is it a what do we wait? I thought I had.
Man, I get hype when I got y'all on, man. I get hype. You gotta change up when you get hype. You know what I'm saying? True. I got fam in the building, so I'm kind of hyped, man. So it is what it is. When I knew I had Donna and Candi in the building, come on. You can't tell me nothing.
Candi, can I just say before we get started, behave. No, let them have it. hey, this is a good week. We don't need to misbehave right now. We don't. I don't have no reason to be out of sorts.
Why can't you misbehave?
Or I don't even know if that's considered out of sorts for me, though. No, it might be a regular day for me.
Was this an inside joke? Is this an inside joke?
Donna says that I act up. Well, like, do you believe that? Do you believe that?
Cadi's a sweetheart, man.
All I know is I'm a sweetheart, but sometimes she has to call out people. But you know, we sit beside each other at game day, home, away, at practice, and whatever. Me and Candi are connected. Yes. Now, wait, I gotta say this because David Harrison said that I guess we stressed. I think me and Scott Abraham stressed David out a little bit. The NFC Championship game. You was on the other side of me, Donna. Remember when he was like, "Wait a minute, I don't know how I'm going to deal with all this." Yeah, I mean, me and Candi was looking at the championship. Well, in Detroit, we were looking at Adam Peters because he was across from us. We got a kick out of just watching him enjoy that win in Detroit. And I mean, we were kind of trying to stay in our seat and we had to pinch ourselves because we was like, wow. So it was a fun season and it's been a fun all season so far too.
It's been interesting all season. But I'd love to get your take on this all season so far. Interesting for me though. Very interesting all season. Before we get into all that, talk about the off-season, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, tune in to iHeartRadio and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Make sure you subscribe to the Urban Sports Scene and Bowie TV YouTube channels. Make sure you just hit that red subscribe button and also like the video. That's well for the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm, right? So just, like it, subscribe, and it's always going to be on that little Commanders algorithm on YouTube. So when you go searching for Commanders, it just pops up. So you'll see when you search Commanders, Bowie TV's content will pop up. If you search Commanders, Urban Sports Scene's Commanders content will pop up. If you see Tony McGee Pro Football Plus's TV YouTube channel, you'll see Commander stuff pop. You'll see that channel pop up once you search Commander. So just know what time it is. Make sure just subscribe and like. Also, don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also, join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. All right, let's get into what we came here to talk about, these off-season moves. So the Commanders made two big moves on the offensive side of the football, bringing in Deebo Samuels and Laramie Tunsil. However, there were no big moves on the defensive side of football, which many would say was the weak side of the football. Candi, I'm going to start with you. From a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the Commanders' move so far?
Because I was expecting a bigger I think I'm going to give them a 7. I think I'm going to give them a 7 because of that, what you just mentioned. I didn't see any big moves. They made moves, but I didn't see any like big moves. Like, okay,
right? I mean, the re-signings are big. You know, they're good, they're solid, but I definitely think there could have been an ad here or there that I would have been like, all right, A+. But
Got you.
7.
Donna, how about you? If you had to rate it from 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
Yeah, it may not have been a big splash yet, but I thought it was some key areas where they did address some needed things. And I thought that they brought in a lot of defensive players. Now, I don't know how they're all going to pan out, but I thought I liked that they did bring in, maybe not that big name yet, but I was going to go with Candi about a 7, but I'd probably go a 7.5, a little bit more, only because I'm looking at the defensive players that they did bring in. They may have not been the big names that we wanted them to bring in as far as the pass rushers or so forth. But to me, they did address the defensive front a little bit because they lost some players. That's an area that they need to get him better at this year, bigger, faster, stronger, run stoppers, and all of that. So when I look down at the players that they did sign, I'm pretty impressed so far because they were aggressive on the defensive side of the ball up front. Couple of players in the back with Will Harris and Jones as cornerback, but the other players that they signed were up front. So I have to give them a little more than a 7.5, even though they didn't get that big splash of that big name yet. And maybe that's a good thing because they still have the draft to look at.
Eric says, hopefully the D better versus tush push. Yeah, hopefully.
Unless they ban it.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul gave it a 7.5.
They might
Paul agrees with you, Donna, 7.5. I don't know. I don't have it that high. Personally, I just don't. Just because of like the body of work, like they're like in terms of size, I do like that they brought in Kinlaw. I do like the size, but the production isn't like what he was supposed to be when he was drafted out of South Carolina in his career. Like when you look at, you know, what we've complained about here in DC, we can say, yeah, they need another big body defensive tackle, but you also have to be productive. You just can't have the size, right? Everybody wants to say the size. Now, and I can say, we can all say like, hopefully under this regime, hopefully he reaches his max potential. But in terms of when you're replacing somebody else, you're looking for somebody who's going to do something different to a point where we can like now say for the Commanders, hey, this is going to help them stop the run. So I'm not sure. I think this unknown, right? In that situation, to me, that's the best signing for me on the defensive side is Kinlaw. So I'm not. I would say it's unknown, but I guess when you look and you factor in Deebo Samuels, when you factor in Laramie Tunsil, I would give it like a 6.5, a 6.5. But the defense to me is so unknown. It's hard for me to give it that extra oomph because it's the unknown. Like you look at Will Harris. He's to me not that much different from. No, I'm not gonna do that to Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin is better than him. Like I'm not gonna do that to him. I'm not gonna do that to Jeremy Chin. He's better, so it's not an upgrade there. Defensive tackle, not really upgrade, but it sounds good just because he's a different player. So it could be an upgrade for what they need, but it's only time will tell, right? So it's hard for me to say like, and then they just signed everybody that the same unit. You know what I mean? It's the same folks back. So it's hard for me to say like this team is going to be better. That's all I would say. Paul said wrong. Paul wrong.
Hey, Wally, but let me jump in right quick.
Mm-hmm.
This
Go
is
ahead, Donna.
to look at is that the players that they signed so far, they had to get depth on the defensive line too. And I think that's where I'm looking at right now. It may not be the starters that we're looking at the beginning of the season. And you mentioned something about this coaching staff. This coaching staff made this team better last year with what they had. And it wasn't like that they were like the top of the tier, the board, as far as the talent, as far across the defensive line, because they still were missing a pass rusher. They were still missing some other pieces on this defense. So I'm looking more so some of the players that they signed on the defense as far as Eddie Gozman, Jones, Wise, Martin, and Harris and Kinlaw. I'm looking at some of those guys as possibly not being your starters, but being some guys that you can plug in as, players to come in because they needed a lot of depth still. And we forgot about Johnny Newton on this team too. Him, and in his second year, and Candi knows that when we was out at the combines that they were talking about Coach Quinn of, remember, these players are going to be in their second year, some of those guys last year, so they should be much better. And I still think that it's too early to look at what this defense is going to look like across the board, because the free agency is still going on. The draft is still going on. And the draft is heavy when it comes to defensive players up front. And if the Commanders stay where they're at, they're going to be able to get that. I don't know. The draft is a ways away, but I still think that they're really active in free agents. First time in a long time that they've been this active this early.
Yeah, it feels like a lot. Yeah. Well, last year was a lot. We knew that, right? Last year was a lot. But I feel like I'm wondering how much of this it's like, because when we have to go back and look at the previous team members that have signed with other teams, I will say that Jeremy Chin gave me a little like, oh.
Yeah. And
that was the one. That was the one, because I'm that maybe be like, oh, ooh, okay, all right, okay. But we gonna roll with this. And so I'm wondering how much of this is also geared toward this staff likes high intellect. High IQ guys, right? You can't just, miss your
assignment,
so to speak. So I'm wondering how much of that is playing into this too, because we heard a lot of the guys say, right, Donna, I'm gonna do whatever the coach tells me to do, whatever spot, wherever they tell me to go, whatever they tell me to do, that is what I do, and that is it. So it makes you feel like, how much of it is missed assignment related, not really finishing, because we heard a lot about needing to finish, and how much of it was around missed tackles, not finishing, not being where you were supposed to be. That could have, been an impact when they went back and had to really take a hard look at who gets re-signed, who gets released, and who kind of like, we're going to let you explore free agency, because some of them, let's be for real, some of them explore free agency and still circle back, right? So, maybe some of them explore free agency and maybe they didn't want them to leave, but they, but if you didn't want to leave, then you wouldn't let them explore free agency. That's how I look at that. But I think it's a couple different factors in there though. And because they understand the culture a bit more now, it helps them to really figure out the type of guys they want in the locker room.
I do understand Paul said, I feel like Harris is an upgrade over Chin for what they want to do. The secondary is faster. I'll say this, Paul, like, don't look at just speed, bro. I think you're just looking at speed. He could be fast, but he don't cover. He's a hitter. Chin is a hitter. Chin also, too, the real talk, Chin can cover tight ends.
Yes.
Davis ain't a dude who covers tight ends. So I think you look at I think you're looking at the 4-4-3 and just think that I'm gonna say this again, Paul. Percy Butler is faster than than Harris. But Chin was a better player than Percy Butler, so it didn't really matter. Like, so don't, just because you run fast doesn't mean that you're better. That's all I'm gonna say.
That Jeremy Chin is still sticking with me, because me and Kenny was talking about that, because Jeremy Chin was a guy that they praised last year. And if you notice, he started off a little slow last year at the beginning of the season. He was major down the stretch.
He was major.
And finished. So this is a guy that really fit into your offense. Your defense. This is a guy that would have been in his second year of this defense. So it would have made a difference. And I'm still trying to figure out, how did they let him get away when they had the cap money to keep him here? And I know that when they've got Martin, Butler, and then what is it? They drafted one last year, Tyler.
Hampton.
Dominique.
Oh no, you're talking Tyler Owens. Tyler Owens is good.
Oh yeah,
I think Tyler Owens is better than Harris.
They got people. They strong at safety, but Jeremy Chin, to let him get away with what we're building here is, I still want to know why that happened, because when I saw that, I was like, oh, no way.
They had an answer, because they typically have an answer for everything, right? They have an answer. Yeah. But I also want to mention, Will Harris played with Marshawn in New Orleans. There's that relationship there. There's that understanding of that tandem there. Right. Good point. And it's just, that was the only one though. And this is absolutely no shade, right? We gotta remain objective because Donna knows. And I said Donna, do you want me to mess with you now?
No, you can go on and mess with me. Go on.
Because somebody that is no longer with the team told all of us one day that Donna was their favorite reporter.
I have an idea who that is too.
This is my favorite reporter right here. Now, Don, we can joke all day long, but I never had anybody say out loud that I was their favorite reporter. But this person, out loud, they told everybody that Donna was their favorite reporter. We gonna tell y'all who it is. I might slip up later, but we gonna keep that. Who it is.
Hey, but you know what? It goes back to treating people right. That's what it all comes down to. From day one, when people come in as rookies and everything, I try to treat people right. Whether I think they can play or not, that's not my job to call out that.
Right. We can't get into all that. But we definitely, I wasn't being objective. I was like, because it's kind of like, it goes back to what you were saying. It's like, are they better? And it's wild, right, to say, but I guess if it's better, it becomes a better team would still make the NFC Championship and win, right? And go to the Super Bowl, right? Because we know the bar. Yeah. We'll have to see. This is still one of those situations where it's like we really have to see. So far, the attitude, though, of what these guys are saying in press conferences mirrors what we've heard and what we know, because we haven't seen the documented commander standard, right? Yeah. But it sure enough sounds like what Terry McLaurin described to me of what the commander standard is, you know, NFC Championship week. That's what it sounds like. We described to all of us, right? Because we were in the presser, but like it sure does sound like, you know, and not that those guys were not that, but when you give somebody an opportunity to explore free agency, they do. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes, you know,
the grass ain't greener on the other side. But this is the thing that we got to look at. This time last year, when the whole new coaching staff was coming in, and it was a lot about 30-some new player or so forth. During training camp, we all was sitting there looking like, how this team gonna look, because
we didn't know. And I will admit it now. Yeah. I admitted it like mid-season or something like that. I was giving Jeremy Chin a hard way to go. I was just like, what is he? But he proved me all the way wrong. I was completely wrong about Jeremy Chin.
But
and I'm proud to say it now.
And Candy, not only him, but some other players, because I never did see this team being 12-5, being one game from the Super Bowl. But this is the thing that we've got to look at too. This Commanders front office is pretty smart, because last year they signed most of these players to 1-year contracts. And this is what I think they're looking at. Hey, we're signing you to 1-year contract. When we look at this group that they just bought in, 1-year contracts, because they're basically looking to see who fits in here really and who doesn't. Because they won't be here. We don't have those long contracts where we're paying out a lot of money. We're basically putting this team together with good players, but we're going to see if they fit after 1 year. And I look down this list that I've got right now, 1 year, maybe 2, 3 here and there. But for the most part, all these players they bought in is for 1 year. So I think this front office is pretty smart in how they're navigating through putting this team together, because as Candy said early, the bar is set way high right now. Everybody coming after you. And I still don't think that they address the offensive side of the ball enough, because they got the Laramie spot on.
Yeah, I think spot on.
You needed that. And to me, that's a home run hitter. But people are saying, man, did they give up too much for him?
Nah.
These draft picks. You got to be able to get that caliber of players. Like Candy said, it hasn't been a big splash. We all talked about in the beginning, no big splash yet. But that's a big splash right there, because on the other side of the ball, they have to shore up that, because Cosme is not going to be back at the beginning of the season with an ACL injury. So you still need to shore up. You've got to be able to protect your quarterback. You've got to be able to have a strong, big offensive line that's able to open up holes. And I think they got the wide receiver group a little bit there, not 100%. Debo big signing, but you got a Day and some of those guys that are gone. So you got to plug in some backup guys at wide receiver. And we haven't talked about the running back room yet, because I still think that you need to add another running back, because Brian Robinson has been hurt the last couple of years. Eckler with the concussion, you get a concussion one time, 2 or 3 times, you're susceptible to it again. He was gone last year. Then you got, McNichols, they signed back. He's your third back. And then Rodriguez. But I still think you need that explosive guy in there. Like, I hate to say this with Philadelphia, with Barkley, and then up the road, Henry. It makes a difference when you can run the ball and keep the other offense off the field. So I think you still need to address the running back room a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. We say what Paul talked about. I got to show. Look, man, Chin in the beginning of the season, I was like, he was annoying me in the beginning.
At the beginning of the season, I was giving him a hard way to go.
Yeah. But I feel like
I will never forget, because I told Jeremy this. We talked about it offline, and then locker room clean out day, I told him I was going to bring it up in our one-on-one. But after that Atlanta Falcons game, when the Commanders won, and that was like the Zach Ertz game, Zach Ertz talked a lot in the after game press conference about going up against Jeremy Chin made him better. He was like, they used to go at it in training camp. And at the beginning of the season, during practice, that's when the regular season starts, we can't stay out there for all of practice anymore. We're only out there for a very, very short period of time, really just like during warm-ups and maybe like position drills, but we're not out there that long at all compared to training camp. But he absolutely named Jeremy Chin, to your point, Wole, about how he covered tight ends.
Oh man, he was good at it.
And Jeremy told me, he was, first he was like, thank you so much for telling me that he said that. But he was like, no, Zach absolutely made me get better, because he is good. He was like, Zach Ertz does not get the credit that he deserves in this league. He's really, really good, and he will hold my feet to the fire every practice. Like they would, and he was like, they became like arch nemesis. They were like each other. Like everybody knew going into practice, like, here goes Zach, and there they go. But it made both of them better, and they were good for it, and became very close as a result of it. So that one hit me in the chest when I saw that. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, because the only reason I say this, because why, and you all been covering the team for a while. Y'all seen it. Tight ends typically kill Washington, and you can't say this season Chin was primarily on these tight ends. And Chin was primarily on these tight ends.
I think the only time I saw some tight ends, like they weren't going off, but it was typically like the same play. It happened during the Ravens. I think
that's it. Only the Ravens game. It was only Ravens game.
I think the Giants did that same play, that second game, but that was it. Right. And then they won the Giants game, though. Right. And then so lost to the Ravens. But that could have been, who knows who missed that call. That could have been a toss up based on what I saw. I didn't see what who I think was at fault for both of those. But I also remember Coach Witt said, something ain't right with the play. He taking it out. It ain't working. So he took it out. He was like, it's not working for us. We just got to go. And I appreciated that, because he was right. But to your point, they were not getting smoked by tight ends like they had in the past. Not at all last season. You saw a couple plays that stuck out, but tight ends were not getting a lot of burn against the Commanders last year. Not at all.
Yeah.
He tackled better. Also, he was solid in that tackling.
He could tackle.
Was always committed.
Only that, his communication. Candi talked about the IQ of players. Jeremy Chin was that. I understand that the way he covered, the way he communicated. Even Quan Martin talked about, Jeremy Chin. So I'm still trying to figure out that. I can't wait to kind of like find out from the coaches how they let him get away, because he should have gotten paid. If anybody was going to get paid to stay on this team, I'm keeping a Jeremy Chin on this team, because this is the thing about him. You don't have to worry about him coming into the second year, because he's already familiar with this defense. Will Harris, you got to think about, he's got to get used to this defense. And I know they say he's versatile and so forth, but Jeremy Chin was bigger than him also. And like you all said, it's hard to take on tight ends and play the run.
Against Zach Ertz every day.
No, I just think that it was like I just feel like I mean I know like money is money, and I feel like this team they allocate their money who they
And I
want to
mean,
allocate.
him hard enough. They
and
didn't
that could
him
have
hard
been
enough.
one. That could have been one that got away. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't
They
know.
have
And
an answer though. They have they gonna always have an answer.
and
if
this
it
is my
happens,
thing.
but-
I always say this: like if the money sound right, then it slots you in your position. I'm gonna be real with you. 2 years for $8 million. That's like basically 4 years, $4 million a year. Doesn't scream out guaranteed starter to me. It just doesn't at safety. Because typically,
no, I think everybody's going to compete for their job.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, it's not even a sure thing because you two are there all the time, and I've said this before. Like this staff loves Percy
Butler.
Butler, and they feel like he could be a starter. I'm not the biggest Percy Butler fan. Everybody knows this was on the show. I'm not gonna say like I'm like I rooted for Purley his rookie year because I thought he had talent, but certain things on the field kind of annoyed me. But this staff likes him a lot, right? They like him a lot. So to me, like I think it's a competition. I don't think like Will Harris got the job. I think it's competition.
I mean, I think anybody. I mean, other than like, I mean, you can look at some positions, right? Like linebacker. You know what's going to happen there. You know what's going to happen at tight end. You know, but when it comes to the secondary, you really don't know. And I mean, and they're going to put the best people out. They did the same thing last year because what came up, I'm glad you all brought it up, and it is around Tyler Owens. Now, Tyler was hurt.
That was a good one.
Right? And Tyler can play.
Tyler Owens, I'm starting to think
and
about
you talking about arriving violently. Oh my God. It was one day I said, oh, ouch. That looked like it hurt. Ooh. Let's get it, Tyler. Look at that. This was nice. And then I just, that's what Donna say. I be acting up like, ow.
Like, ouch, that hurt.
Ouch.
Because he brought the timber.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't even mention his name because I wanted to bring his name.
Mention him up down. Yeah, talk about him down because y'all talk about Tyler.
I wanted to bring his name up because you didn't see him on the field much last year because of just the talent that was out there, and just like Percy
he did a lot of special teams though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then let me tell you, if he gets the opportunity to be in there, he's going to challenge somebody to that slot because Percy Butler, like you said, the coaches told us, look, he's just in a number game. He could start for another team. They have depth at safety.
They do.
With Quan Martin and with Percy and Tyler, and now with Harris. That's a good combination as far as right there. I mean, Jeremy Chin, you should have kept him, but it made it stronger. I'm not going to let that one go.
I'm going to let that one go.
We're going to get to the bottom of that. Don't worry about it, Donna. We're going to get to the bottom. We're going to figure
I'm telling you, man, Candy going to get to the bottom.
Why you not here?
Hey, Wally, I'm a little salty about that because we were at the combine and somebody that, a girl that covers the Panthers was saying, how in the world did we let him get away? And then when few weeks later, we didn't let him get away. And I'm thinking like, what in the heck? And I was telling her, I said, oh man, he has really down the stretch. But when we look at the cornerback position too, Michael Sanders still, and then Marshawn Lattimore over on the other side, and then Jonathan Jones, who is a versatile player too, that can play inside and outside slot. Is his best, but I mean, you still probably need to plug in another cornerback here and there because we know Andrew, so you have to have some depth there as far as your cornerback position. But do you like those three names I've called out? I think they're solid there, but you just have to plug in another cornerback to me for the depth and everything.
I know I got to tell on myself. I'm built on transparency. Sometimes I got to tell on myself. So I know they signed Jonathan Jones, right? And I'm like, okay, I know who Jonathan Jones is. And I still got on the Zoom call and was like, oh my God, that's Jonathan Jones.
Hey, Wally.
Oh, is that Jonathan Jones? Oh, it's too many names.
The bulb went off finally.
Oh. Duh, Candy, what is going on with me? As soon as I was like, oh, snap, there go Jonathan Jones. Oh, wait, they signed that Jonathan Jones? Oh my God, airhead moment. I was tripping. I didn't know. I really didn't. I was like, okay, Jonathan Jones, next up, all right, whatever. And I did not know who it was. And I got on there and was like, OMG, that's Jonathan Jones. oh my
I
God.
mean, when you listen to
hold on, Don, I'm gonna stop you real quick because somebody just popped on the stream. Hey,
Oh.
Mama Waller, how you doing?
Hey, Mom.
Hey,
Mama,
Mama
that's my
Waller.
Mom.
I always gotta make sure when she jumps on the stream, I gotta say what's up. Hey, all right, Donna, right? You go ahead.
No, Jonathan Jones, the guys that we've been able to talk to so far, you can tell that he is a seasoned veteran. I mean, you can tell that he has the character that they're looking for on this Commanders team, because the way he spoke about this team and everybody. Look, I like what Will Harris said. He said he'll run through bricks for Dan Quinn, and these other players talking about, you know, this Commanders team overall and what they like about, you know, because these guys could have went anywhere, but they wanted to come to this team because they like this coaching staff and what Coach Quinn has built here, so forth. But Jonathan Jones, to me, they knocked it out of the ballpark getting him, because I think he's going to make that secondary much better with the depth, because you talk about Mikey Sanders still, what they moved from his slot inside, which was his true position, but he played better on the outside, and they took a chance at that, and they hit a home run right there. Jonathan Jones is another one that can play outside, inside. So they got two players right there that can be switched up from time to time, which makes them much better players in that secondary and what the defense can do with them. And and Lattimore, we didn't get to see him really because he came in hurt. So I want to see him for a full season to really look at him getting back to that top form of what we heard about, you know, with the Saints and so forth. So when you look at the secondary, they're starting to get a little better. We just got to see how the defensive front, because it doesn't matter how great that secondary is if you don't have the run stoppers up front. And I still think that they're lacking that mean pass rusher that can really get to the quarterback.
No, they don't think about it. They don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it ends up playing out. But going back to Jonathan Jones and just the leadership there, like you said, Donna, exactly right. Like, I felt it. I was like, yo, yeah, this guy played on the team with Tom Brady. Like, this dude know exactly what the bar is. He understands perfection, right? I mean, this dude, he commanded presence, and I ain't even mean to say that from a commander's perspective, but he really did.
He sure did.
Zoom call, because I was feeling crazy. I was like, oh my God, that's the real Jonathan Jones. Oh wait, I'm having a fan moment. Let me get myself together. That's the one that played with Tom Brady. I was like, wait, because I was like kind of all smiling all up in the Zoom camera, like, wait, oh yeah, oh duh, Candi, why use your own clues, because this is crazy. I didn't figure that out, but that's 2 Super Bowls, right? I think the last couple of Super Bowls with the Patriots with Tom Brady, he was on that team, and I think he was still relatively maybe newer in his career. Maybe
he was younger. He was much younger.
But like what he was saying, he understands what that takes. So he understands what bad, terrible teams look like. He understands what winning teams look like. And you had a quarterback like Tom Brady, you know what that looks like. And so that is someone else with a very high standard for how they approach practice, how they approach games, how they approach their nutrition, right? Along with the Bobby Wagners of the world, the Zach Ertz of the world, who have a Super Bowl ring, or know what it felt like to get there and lose, right? And understand, they get it. And you gotta have that experience, right? That veteran leadership that's like, oh, I done been here before. Y'all boys playing. This is how we got to go up. This is how we got to do this. And that's what they need, because that leadership has to happen more. It has to happen in every spot, right? It has to happen in every single spot. And so I was very impressed with his press conference. I was also very impressed going back to Will Harris, because Will Harris said something, and I had to kind of like zoom in on what he said, because when we were in New Orleans, right, Donna, you remember this? The away team, how the guys came into the stadium, it was like a long walk. Like it was kind of a long walk for them. and they went behind like a curtain. It was wild the way they went, you know. And I think I don't know, you were behind the curtain, but I stand out in the middle. And Will Harris made a comment and was like, the energy of this team, like even the way they got off the bus. And I distinctly remember saying to myself, because that was the week after the bye. So they were on a bye week, and wasn't that the bye? But yeah, they came back and played the Saints after the bye week. And I said it then. I said, oh yeah, Will Harris know what he's talking about, because I remember I said, ooh, their energy is real. Oh, they got a different kind of swag getting off the bus today. Everybody was like, we coming in here to punish them. Like that is how, I mean, their attitude was just so, and it wasn't arrogance at all. It was just, they came in super confident, super leaders. They just knew they were there to put in work. Now that was a close game.
But too close.
They almost lost, but they came in there. The attitude was there. So when Will Harris said in his presser, even how they got off the bus, I said, Will Harris, he telling the truth. Because I remember that game was just so like, dang, y'all ready? Y'all ain't okay. Y'all
looking like they was already on the field, ready to punish somebody.
Like they was ready. It was. He saw it, and I'm glad he did, because those are the things that players remember about a team. That's one of the reasons why he's here. Why he wanted to come. And you know who else? It might have been Will, Donna, or somebody else said when they asked. I don't know, because some of them been saying so many of the same things. I'm not saying that in a negative way, in a very positive way. When they said
Javon,
I don't know.
Javon,
maybe it was Kinlaw or Goldman yesterday when they said playing for Dan Quinn is the best decision you'll make in your career.
Yep. And they pretty much all said that, but
but somebody said straight up, they called somebody, was asking people from Dallas and others, they said playing for Dan Quinn is the best decision you'll make in your football career.
Yeah, I was asking Javon Kinlaw about what he wanted his teammates to know about him as a player in person. And I like this because I know that last year doing locker clean out, Frankie Louvu sitting there talking to him, and he said that the key thing about being on this Commanders team last year, it was no prima donnas on this team. And, you know, anybody could have been one last year, but was none. It was funny that he said that because Javon said about what he wants his teammates to know is that he's coming in here not to be showing off or not to make it feel like it's him and whatever. He's coming in here to do whatever he possibly can to fit into this team, to do whatever it is to, take this team, help this team to move forward. So they've been looking at this team closely, these players that's coming in here, and the way they talk about how they want to come in here, and nobody is trying to come in and be prima donnas, and everybody's looking at Deebo Samuels and wondering how is he going to work out, because he's a different type of player. But I think that with this coaching staff, with Terry and even with some of the other veteran players, I think when you have a winning formula and you have a structure, because Coach Quinn last year said, hey, get the brotherhood together quickly. And he said, you all have to do it. And they did that. And I think that anybody coming in here, they have to be able to fit in the brotherhood, because as I told some reporters last year when they were talking about, hey, no number one draft picks get cut. And before I could get it out of my mouth, I said, nobody is safe. Jahan Johnson the next 2 days. So nobody is safe, because you still got to go through camp and whatever. And all these players that they've signed, they may not be on the roster at the end of a training camp. So this is just players that they are putting on this team, and they still have to make the team to fit into this team. And that's what we're seeing right now. And so I'm excited about some of the pieces that they plugged in. I'm glad that they got Marcus Mariota back, because I think that he was so good for Jayden Daniels. And I had a question mark for him last year to say they got him, but the more I saw him on, at practice, got to know him and everything, I said, you know what? He really fits on this team in helping Jayden, and that's what he wants to do too, is make him better. And he talked about what he learned throughout his career and so forth. So I think that was an important part to plug back in for Jayden also to be on this roster as the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I tell you, Paul, I want to give y'all flowers. Paul said, "Hi, IQ," and both of your questions were great. It's referring to your questions.
Thank you. All the interviews are running together, and thank you, Paul, for. I knew it was somebody that told Jones, or somebody that playing for Dan Quinn is the best football, best decision they're making in their career.
And Gilmore, Gilmore,
that Coach Quinn gets a lot of credit for it, as he should, but he will be clear with you that the players created that culture. Mm-hmm. They established a standard for it. They wrote it down. They made it real on paper, but they had to make it real in real life. And he said the players did that. They're holding true to that. And I mean, all of the energy from these guys, I mean, of course, going back to Kinlaw, right, Goldman, it's some of them are from here, so they're like they're living their childhood dream. They but this team, they also can acknowledge that this team is not like the others, right? And I think that was what I asked Kinlaw, like, what's the word on the street? Like, what are they saying? And I think the last thing was, everybody know you got to strap up when you play with them. When you play them, nobody was saying that about the Commanders before.
So that's a true point. That's a good point.
Nobody was saying
that. No, you got to strap up and be.
They wasn't saying anything. They was like, we gonna go over there, and that's gonna be like a home game for us. We gonna have a good time.
Facts.
Hey, Wally, I gotta mess with Candi right here.
Go for it.
Law, he was talking about being from DC, and he's like, oh yeah, I know where that is. Candi said, hey, I'm shouting out PG because I'm from PG, and he was like, yeah, I know about that.
Let them know, Candi. Let them know.
Girl, they had to jump in the DC people.
That's right. They was all DC. Candi said, "Oh no, PG. Remember, you done came up the road to PG, but the stadium is there, so you're gonna be playing there."
No, that was fun. That was a fun conversation between him and DA. That was cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really loose. So it is good to have some players back that are from the area because they're excited. He was saying he got his whole family back here. So it's going to be fun, to have those guys back. And I was looking at some of the other players that they signed back, re-signed and everything.
Talk about that, Donna.
One of the biggest ones that I think, and I'm not taking away from none of them, but John Bates. Let me tell you, the reason why I say that tight end position, of course, Zach and Bobby and all of those guys, but when you think about John Bates and what he means to that offense, this is a tight end that does his job quite well. And he was one of the tops last year as far as blocking tight ends. You know how hard it is to find a quality blocking tight end that's going to help out this offensive line a little bit more. Now, he may not catch a lot of balls that's thrown to him, but that's not what he's here for. But he was saying how much better he got with this coaching staff. He's here. Hey, look, he's here to block.
He's blocking. He's a blocker. He's a good blocker. Yeah, I'm just saying with that.
He knows what he's here for, and they wanted to get him back because that's a player that they didn't let go, and they signed him for 3 years. So that means
was it 2 or 3? I thought it was 2.
I got it 3, but it could have been 2, but it was more than 1.
It's more than 1. It's definitely more than 1.
And they wanted him back, so they wasn't going to let him slip away because that is key, the tight end position, because we still have, I mean, beyond you think about it, Zach, who is your top one catcher, who else can you look? Because Ben Sinnott hasn't really stepped up last year because they're looking for him to step up a little bit more this year. So I still think that the tight end is another position that you may have to look at out there, maybe bringing in another one. Zach is going, they only signed him for 1 year, but that last year, this coaching staff was so smart because during the course of the year, at the beginning of the year, they said you will not be practicing every day. They gave him a day off for the whole season because an older player. And you know what? It didn't burn him out because that's key. You got to know your personnel. But Ben Sinnott is going to have to step up this year.
Yeah, Jack got a veteran. He would get a rest day every week. And to the point of the re-signing, so Donna, you mentioned John Bates. I'm going to mention Sheldon Day. Yeah, it's going back to defensive tackle, and I think that's an important point of re-signing Sheldon, because Sheldon was known, and Coach Quinn talked about Sheldon as one of their glue guys. And so I think that's important to mention as well, Sheldon Day.
And also, Candi, we can't let Sheldon get away because he's the music man.
He can't leave. Oh, and that's right too. We got our music people back because
we got our music people back, Wally. About music.
What you mean, y'all music people? I'm not hip.
Well, let me tell me. Me and Candi have the music people there playing music for us during the week.
Okay.
And we make sure that the right music is being played. Okay. So Sheldon was one of those guys that we had to go over and say, "Hey, Sheldon, Trent Scott is the other one." So we got our music people back during the week. That's going to keep me and Candi happy.
Okay. Well, Trent Scott from HBCU, so he's already cool with me mentally. But I do think with y'all, like the big resign, like Donna, you mentioned, I think Marcus Mariota is probably the hugest resign.
Marcus is huge.
I just think that it's beyond the play on the football field. He in emergency duty, he did a great job, right? Absolutely. And I was one of those, just like Candi, I was one of those people when we signed. I was like, man, we got Marcus Mariota, like why? But just as a leader, his leadership, and he fits the culture of what this regime wants, right? We're talking about like the Commander's way or whatnot. He fits the culture. And he's just great for Jaden, and I think that's a security valve for Jaden that you don't want to disappear. You know what I mean? Especially in his young progression in year 2. So I think the re-signing of Marcus Mariota and also Trustway. I just feel like we got a constant killer in Trustway in the punting game, and just a punter with swag is just hard it's hard to let go. You know what I mean? Like
1 year though.
I know, but still, he's back. I just wanted him to be back.
He's back.
I mean, he's a punter. I don't expect him to get a long-term deal as a punter because they don't treat punters and kickers.
Too. He got a great personality.
Yeah, he needed to be back. He's part of the culture. He's part of this culture. You know what I mean?
But when they made sure that Kingsbury was going to be back, Candi told him that he couldn't go. So she already put the handcuffs on him.
Look, I tried to tell the story toned down. Donna just told the truth.
She didn't told it right.
She made sure.
Hey, excuse me. Let's have a conversation. Can we talk? He was cracking up.
She called him into her office.
Yes. Remember, I said, "Can you come in my office? My open office. This is my office. Let's talk." Because no.
In between the locker room and the
whole
nine. So I mean, you think about it. Mariota had to almost come back with, Kingsbury coming back and keeping that offense as much as you possibly can together. And I like what Jaden is calling out everybody to say, "Hey, welcome to the team." He's being that leader quarterback only in his second year. Making sure these players feel like they're welcome. Let's get together. I think Mariota said he was going to be in California, so they were going to hook up while he was out there. That's what you want to hear as far as these players connecting before they even step on the field for this year. They're basically making sure that all these pieces fit as far as the bond before they even get moving really good.
And it's not, and Donna's exactly right. I think though, just to be clear, the people that did not resign, they had a great relationship, right? But everybody's not going to stay. I mean, and everybody knows that on locker room clean out day. That's why it's so sad, right? And that's why they were so hurt, because the locker room culture was real with that team. And it felt like they just didn't want to stop playing football. Remember, it was like they just didn't want to stop. They just wanted to keep playing because they loved it so much and they loved each other so much that, yes, it was absolutely about the Super Bowl. It was absolutely about winning a championship, But I think they just were having a lot of fun. Like, they were really happy.
And they liked each other. They really
liked each other. And they just didn't want it to end. That's all. And it came to an end. But it's, I don't think that means that any of the guys that didn't resign weren't a part of the culture, because they all were. They all were. OZ, oh my gosh, OZ, Diami, that's another one of Donna's people. Diami's one of her people. And so that's
he can't hoop though. I'm the better basketball player.
He can't hoop.
I'm the better basketball player than Diami. He already knows that. Diami knows that.
So like, yeah, I mean, I don't play basketball, so I didn't ever get into those kind of things.
Donna is a hooper. Donna is a hooper.
I would get myself out of
it. That Jaden had to come over. Everybody got into the conversation, and I told Diami they had this little basketball hoop in there. I said, I don't play with little hoops like that. I play on the real court. So
tell him, Donna.
So
hey,
yeah.
Can Jaden hoop? Can Jaden hoop for real?
Oh
yeah.
no.
Well, Jaden can hoop.
And
Donna she can beat everybody though. So
Diami can hoop for real?
Diami can hoop too.
Yeah,
all right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, they can, but I still
she been hanging with the hoopers.
She wasn't good as me.
She's not good as you.
He still ain't good at me. He won't take me up. Now he won't take me up because now he went to another team. So now I'm gonna tell him he was afraid because he went to another team. So I can live. I can look. That's all I can do.
You got clout now with it. You got clout with it.
I tell Diami, I said you ain't with the team no more. So I can't. I mean, you left because you didn't want to go up against me on the basketball court. That's all I can pretty much go by. But I mean, this squad was like Candi said. Debo told me as far as whether he was going to be with this team or not, and I think he signed with the Buffalo. He signed Derek Forrest.
Oh, Defo, right?
Yeah, But what Defo told me is that whether he was with this team or not, one thing that he did learn about this is that he will never take anything for granted anymore, and that he learned that he had to bring 100% every day. And that's something that he's learned from last year playing with that coaching staff and that team, whether he was on the field or not. It was a lot of things that was parted into these players that when they go to these other teams, they're going to carry that with them, that this is how a culture is supposed to be like. And I don't want anything less than that. And I think that that's what they're going to see in moving forward is they're going to expect that also. This is what a culture of a football team is supposed to look like. This is how coaches are supposed to treat you and so forth. And this is what a true brotherhood looks like, because other players said, hey, we've been on teams before, but this was real. When I talk about being real, that we wanted to be around each other and we cared about what happened to each other. That's what we saw. Me and Candi saw it as far as just how we were treated as reporters, as far as players, coaches, and all of that, is that you could tell that the atmosphere of how the coaches expected people to conduct themselves, you saw that. And I think the key thing is whether you were here with this team or not, that you're going to be able to carry with you to other teams this kind of culture. So that's what I like about that.
As Paul said, to your point, Donna, I want to get your point on it. He says, and you too, Candi, I finally feel like our culture is bigger than any player we bring in. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's non-negotiable. And I mean, that's just based on what Terry McLaurin said. The commander standard is non-negotiable. When you walk in, you will know that you got to fit in. You got to fit here. And if you don't, you got to go. This is what it is.
And as I said, they said that there's no prima donnas on this team. Nobody is bigger than anybody else. No matter what your name is, everybody is pretty much equal as far as when you look at it. It's no prima donna. So that's the reason why I say the culture has changed. And if you coming in here thinking otherwise, you ain't going to be on this team.
So how you all feel about the re-signing of Noah Brown, him coming back? What do you think his situation will be with this with the wide receiver unit? And I'll start with you, Candi.
You know, I was happy to see it because I was happy to see. I mean, hey, they could have re-signed everybody. Oh, but almost everybody. I'm not gonna let me almost everybody. And I would have been
not everybody.
I've been okay with it for most everybody, but you know, at one point in time, I really felt like Noah Brown. Now he had some drops. Okay. Yeah. But I feel like at a point in time, he was almost emerging like that number 2 because it was kind of like Terry McLaurin and everybody else. And he was really emerging like that number 2. I mean, everybody will know him from the Hail Mary. Like everybody, like even when I saw it announced publicly, it was like Noah Brown, who caught the famous Hail Mary from the King Daniels. I was re-signed with the Commanders. I'm like, well, dang, I didn't know what you was about to say about him because it was the whole thing about the Hail Mary. Nobody's gonna ever forget it. But that second game against the Giants, that was a very good Noah Brown game. That was he did so well. And, that's a player that I feel like they missed a bit as the season went on, but he got hurt, and he ended up having a serious injury. And to Donna's point about the culture and the brotherhood and them really loving and caring about each other, they were very concerned. They were very upset and concerned about Noah's injury. And you could feel that and tell that amongst the players that they were really worried about him. And they, and so thankfully he's fine. He's all right. He was still traveling with the team though, even all postseason, he was with the team. He was there with them. And I like the re-signing. He fits and he just going to do what you ask him to do each time. And to the point of that 100%. Donna, I'm glad you shared that story of what Defo shared with you, because Zach Ertz mentioned that in his presser too, right? Just the way he and Bobby approach practice. See, people think practice is like, whatever. But hey, how you play is based on how you practice. And the expectation is 100% every time. And I think that clearly every culture not like that. We know it wasn't like that here. Yeah. And so I'm glad they re-signed Noah Brown. When you start to think about like, okay, well, what does the wide receiver room look like? We mentioned getting more out of Ben Sinnott, right? I think Donna mentioned that. I think so that means there's got to be some more out of Luke McCaffrey too, right? And so we'll see how it continues to shape out. But I think Noah was really emerging as that number 2. And I think that re-signing him was a good thing.
Your thoughts on it, Donna?
Yeah, and just sticking with Defo for a little bit. He was, and I told Coach Quinn what he said too. He said you can't cheat the process. And you really cannot cheat the process if you're going to move forward. So lesson learned. And I think Noah Brown was a key signing back for this Commanders team because he's a big target. And that this anybody across the NFL know that you need big targets across that middle and everything. And I think that he was one of those players. I think that he hadn't come into his own because he got hurt. 11 games, 35 catches, 1 touchdown. And like Candi said, even in the Super Bowl, they was talking about the catch. That's how they won that award for the I guess the best catch or whatever. It was.
What's that award? The most memorable moment or
the most memorable moment? It was that one right there. So Noah Brown, I think, was key to sign back because first of all, he has a relationship with Coach Quinn and they know him. And then when you get to know him, he's a quiet player and he's not going to say a lot. But you don't have to say a lot. Just go say a lot on the field. And I think that he was productive because I think that he helped Jayden out a lot when he was in the game in finding that big target that he could find across the middle, from time to time, because he had some good games before, the end of the season. And I would have loved to see him, even entrenched in there a little bit more down the stretch had he not got hurt. But I'm with Candi on Luke McCaffrey. The thing that what's funny about Luke McCaffrey, he had a couple of little games that saw some positive things in there, and then he didn't get to play much because you know why? Because Olamide Zaccheaus and De'Ami Brown and even Crowder stepped up, so it was no room for him to get in the mix of everything. So I think that they want to see a little bit more, as they said that in the second year, these players you're going to see, their development a little bit more. So I'm wanting to see a little bit of his development, but I still think beyond Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown, Deebo Samuels, Terry, that you still need one more receiver in there, maybe a veteran receiver. Crowder, hopefully they'll sign him back because he wants to come back and hopefully because of his special teams and everything. And we know that was key also, that they will sign him back because, Olamide is not here this year and some of the other players. So I still think another receiver plugged in there. And as I said, the running back, I still think needs to plug in another one there just because draft one because you had too many injuries in your running back. Not saying that those guys can't get the job done, but I still think that you still need another back.
They did a good job though, the 4 of them.
They sure did. They did a good job, but because of injuries, that's the reason why I say you need another back.
We don't need another.
Oh, and they need a home run hitter. That's what they kind of need on that running back. They got guys who typically they did a decent job. I'm not
offensive line. I think they'll be even better. I think
the offensive line is better. Yeah, the offensive line should be better.
The offensive line to plug in a few players depth wise and all of that. I think that the running back field is that they have right now can be even better because having those guys to open up holes and all of that stuff. So
yeah, it's always good to get a fast wide receiver, young and fast wide receiver. Yeah, I just think of some of the re-signings. I thought the re-signing of Noah was good, solid for a 1-year deal. I'm not mad at it. It's not a crazy price. Folks like Diami, and Noah. I mean, not Noah, Diami, Olamide. They got paid higher than what this team's willing to offer. So you know what I mean? So I'm not
business. At the end of the day, let's just say it. It is a business.
Yeah.
Guess what? Those players want to be paid. This is their second contract signing, Diami and all of them. And he said that he wanted to come back, but it comes down to dollars amount too.
Of course.
So, but I always say that players, you have to be careful because as we say, the grass is not always greener on the other side. And guess what? My mom always said, don't burn bridges. So I like what some of the players like Jonathan Allen. I have to give a shout out to him.
Please give him flowers.
His message that he wrote, saying, he respect the team and all of that stuff because he could have been sour about being let go. But I thought that he was so classy in what he said. As far as the team, he said all he wanted to do was win. And he gave great shout outs to this team overall as far as them moving forward. So I have to, shout it out to Jonathan Allen right there. Much success to him with his new team moving forward. But it's business at the end of the day. And he realized that. But, you move on to your next assignment.
Yeah. I agree. Earl Williams says, "Don't sleep on C-Rod. He's a better first and second down runner."
I mean, he did a great job. I mean, I think that's why they have an exclusive tender on him. So he's on the team. He's on the roster, And so he's been huge. He's been huge down the stretch. When, like Donna mentioned, whenever anyone got hurt, he's another player that whatever he was asked to do, he did it, and he did it well. He came through. And no, I don't think anybody's going to sleep on him at all.
No, you ain't sleeping on him because we already know.
Because that's why he's still here. And you know what I mean?
That's why they kept signing him back. He got him back. They kept brought him back about 4 times.
That's right.
Yeah, they were doing too much for my man C-Rod. They were doing too much for my man C-Rod. He should have been on that roster.
They've been playing. They've been, doing rejiggering the numbers.
Yeah, they're playing with that man's emotions.
But they were able to be business savvy to keep him on, right? Yeah. And so it's like, hey, is he still on the team? And yeah, he is because they know the value that he brings, and everybody else can see it too. Whenever he was in the game, whatever he was asked to do, he made that happen. And to that point, shout out to Jeremy McNichols, because I do know that Jeremy McNichols is one of the players on the team of many, but that is one player on the team that has really helped as a teammate C-Rod in his development and just how he approaches practice, conditioning, all of those things. All 4 of the backs have very different things. I think I've said that before, right? Where it's like you use them when you need them. But when you need them, when you call their number, they there. And that's what matters. That's what you got to think about and think through. Where did they show up when needed? And absolutely, Chris Rodriguez did. I think Jeremy McNichols did until the NFC Championship.
He showed up. He showed up all right.
But I think that goes back to the physicality because I was going back and watching games, and I was like, he did some phenomenal things. But they got him, the NFC Championship game day. But I think there's still a great running back room. And shout out to Anthony Lynn. I don't think everybody will always say you got a former head coach as the position coach for that room.
I agree.
Huge.
I agree with this.
And Brian Robinson and all of those backs will give Anthony Lynn the credit because what the development with Brian Robinson and what he did with him to take him to the next level is great. Even Chris Rodriguez, because Chris Rodriguez probably could have been on that team and not be cut, but Chris Rodriguez had to get out of his own head during training camp and throughout there because because Coach Lynn, and I was asking him about Chris Rodriguez and everything, and he said, hey, he's got all the pieces and everything. But I think that at the beginning of training camp, you didn't see those pieces displayed of what they wanted to see. And once he got that opportunity, like Candi said, to get into the games, and he basically said, look, if I'm going to only be in there for a game, I'm going to show you everything that I got to make you say, hey, man, we need to have him on that roster. So every time he got in, but the key thing for players when they come in here, they don't have time because everybody is competing. This one thing about this Commanders team, Coach Quinn said that it is competition every week. Every week it's competition. And we saw that, Candi, last year that because of competition, the next week it was somebody else in the lineup, starting lineup and so forth. So nobody is guaranteed to say, just because my name is ABC, I'm going to be there starting. Well, a few people you will, but for the most part, it's competition. And I think that it makes it good because he said he wants the people that's going to start the game and those other players to just be the same, that if they have to get on the field, is no drop off. And that's what we saw a lot of last year, that it wasn't much drop off from the players that had to come on the field to be backups.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. And the running back room was one of those rooms where you really didn't see a drop off. You know, when somebody else had to come in, they continued to work.
So again, we're not saying that the running back room is not good. We're just saying injuries, we just need another back because there was a lot of injuries last year. And when Brian Robinson wasn't able to go because of injuries, and when Eckler wasn't able to go because of injuries, it did hurt not having those two guys in the backfield. So I'm just saying that you need depth and you need at least 4 running backs on your roster, no matter what.
It's gonna be
they do. I mean, I think I'll draft a running back. I think I'll draft a different running back.
I think me and Candi might have to suit up. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm saying because they like 100% effort at practice, and some days like, look, coach, I'm tired. Okay.
No, Candi gonna say, hey, Wally, she's
all right.
Hard out here with a little fan going.
No, let me stay in the media room where I belong.
Yeah, I'm with you, Eric.
Too. She said she got to be in an official room too to learn about what they supposed to be doing.
I'm gonna sign up for a referee class. I think I posted that because I stopped the referees all at combine. Like I got some questions, and I had questions, and the one referee said I'd have been kicked you out of my game, and I'm like, no, listen to me though.
See, Wally kicking her already out the game.
Dang.
But I mean. I understand. It's good to understand the rules.
Yeah.
And they explain it to me. It's like, okay. But then it's like, but y'all don't follow your own rules all the time. That's all I was trying to say. They didn't. If some of the rules are
they just said they're kicking her out.
He was like, I'd have been kicked you out of my game because we got to get back to the game, ma'am. And I'm like, but we not at a game. He was like, you won't listen to me.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna take a class just so I know. But I have zero desire to be a referee. That's ridiculous.
No, I wouldn't want to be one. They couldn't even make me be one for basketball. And I was like, nope, because I'd be like throwing too many players out of the game. I was like, you gone.
Yeah.
Oh God. What about, all right, so I'm gonna name another player. What about Noah Ig? Noah I can say his name. I don't feel like saying it though. I won't say
it.
I was gonna say it with my accent, but I'm not gonna do it.
Me and Candi worked on saying that.
Oh, I know. I can say it. I said,
and the Lumber Days for Kids, I worked on that, and now he gone.
I figured that out.
That's messed up, right, Donna? Ain't that messed up?
Yeah,
I know, right? So, well, your thoughts on him being re-signed? I like it. I personally like it. I got friends who don't like it, but I personally like it. So go ahead.
Well,
Donna, I'll talk with you, Donna.
I think the coaches like him a lot. I mean, he did do some good things and so forth. because I think he fits in as far. I
don't like him.
I don't know. I mean, I think he fits in as far as the depth and everything, not as a starter, because I think he was forced to start and be in a lot more games last year. I just think that some of these guys play too far off the ball, and talking to some of the player personnel about him, because I'm always asking questions about, hey, what do you think about this player and so forth? They said that he has to get out of his own head because he can play, but he thinks he's thinking too much instead of just reacting. And I think that if he starts, you saw some glances of that when he wasn't thinking so much. So that's what the player personnel told me and this was players that played the position. They said that he just has to get out of his own head because he's thinking too much. And if he does that, then he can be a much better player because he's got the tools to be able to do the job. And I'm gonna let Candi have the floor because she got that face.
Go ahead, Candi. What you want to say about Noah? What you want to say about Noah? Candi.
I learned how to say his last name around week 15. I was really happy about that.
Hey, Candi, did you say week 15?
It was week 15. I was like, I can say it. Like, I didn't know because I just called him Noah I. And that was an interesting resigning to me. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I think he fits the culture, right? Like Donna's saying, I think he fits the culture, and he's gonna work really, 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 really hard. Whatever you tell him to do, he's going to do it. He had some tough moments out there, though. He had some tough moments. Yeah. He had some tough moments. So that's my thing. I have to, realize you can't expect perfection.
Yeah, exactly.
Cannot expect perfection. He had some tough matchups as well. But I think that his approach to practice and what they asked him to do and the intangibles that are there, I think that weighed in a lot. And I still think, it's a depth as well. As part of the competition, let's see who wins their spot, who earns their spot as a starter and on the roster, because anything can still happen, like Donna was saying before. But I was kind of like, oh, okay, all right. So I was like, all right, maybe, let's see how this goes. But he had some tough moments, though. I was a little
I will say this, because my friend a friend of mine who also played with Tom Brady, Lee Bod, who played with Tom Brady, not in the Super Bowl, but with Tom Brady with the Patriots. And he played starting cornerback for the team. And he told me cornerback is just such a non-forgiving position, right?
It is. Because you can't expect the wide receiver never to catch a football.
Exactly.
It's totally, and I remember Coach Witt saying that, you cannot expect these wide receivers to just never catch the football or just never get a touchdown. And depending on the day, depending on how you defend, that's the DPI. That's like an automatic DPI. You can only do so much.
Yeah, and especially
the rule changes now them basically made where you can't really touch a receiver or be physical, because you think about when Darryl Green and Champ and Belly and all of those guys,
Martin Mayhew,
all those guys, you could really be more physical and everything. They would have been getting flags thrown on them every play. But now, because of the rule changes, then you have to change your technique as what you can do and what you can't do. And it makes it harder for a DB. And let me just say this again. The defensive front has to make it easier for the cornerbacks, because you can't lead them out there for 100 seconds to be able to cover this guy. If you put pressure up front, they can do their job better also. So all of that goes hand in hand. But the other one, can I go hit one more player?
Go ahead, go for it. Go ahead.
Jay Osborne, the wide receiver they brought in late during the season, really didn't get on the field at all. They signed him back for 1 year, and I think that they want to see what he has, because he did not get to play that much last year. I don't even think he got on the field really, but maybe one time. So he's another guy, wide receiver. I don't know if he makes the team at the end of it, but I think they wanted to bring him back, and let's see what he does in camp also.
Yeah, KJ's interesting. We'll see what he can do. I was
surprised that they signed him back, because he really.
Me too. I just think he had camp body, to be real with you. We'll see how it works out. He's not expensive, so we'll see. I think he's more of a low risk, high reward player. He's had a couple, with the Vikings, he had some good showings, but I don't think he's a player that, fourth on your depth chart, fourth. If your team is right, to me, he's fourth on your depth chart. If your wide receivers pan out the way it's supposed to pan out, he should be fourth. He shouldn't be anything higher than that, in my opinion. But yeah, I was surprised they resigned him. I mean, no, I'm not that surprised. I mean, I am surprised. I knew if he was going to be cheap, I knew he could be resigned. Like that was the thing, because he knows the culture.
Big target. He's a big target.
You know what I'm saying? And Dan Quinn, he has a relationship with Dan Quinn, so I'm not surprised that he would come back. I just feel like for your third or fourth corner, he was okay. He was good to me. Like, you didn't ask him to be your number 2 corner. He was your third or fourth corner, and I feel like for that he was okay. Did he get handsy at times? Yeah, but I would rather have my corner be a little handsy and try to be physical than just play back at times and just be so passive. He wasn't passive.
Giving them 5 yards to be
open. And he wasn't passive.
Play up on the receiver.
Yeah, but when he played up, he got into you though. He would get into you, and I'm cool with that with him.
But they got depth there now because you think about it. Mikey Sanders-Steele, you got Jonathan Jones, you got Marshawn Lattimore. Now you got Nora. I ain't even going to butcher his last name. I mean, I have to kind of like take it real slow to say it.
So you won't mess it up.
Real slow to say it, but I'm gonna get it this year.
Igbinogany.
Igbinogany.
Igbinogany. Is that it? The G is silent. The G is silent because in Nigeria, he's Nigerian. The G is silent.
Oh no!
I need the G. I need the G.
The last G is silent. The last G is silent.
Okay, I'm gonna have his name down pat. Candy, it took her to the 15th week.
Week 15.
Week 15. So it's gonna take me a little longer.
I remember the moment I remember the moment I could say it.
I was so happy when I got
I like this one
because I went up to him and I was like, man, I was practicing doing training camp your name, and I said, and I just butchered it by the time you got up here because I forgot about it, and I believe in calling people their names.
Exactly.
They're like nor I and all of that. I want to call you what your name is.
That's true. I respect that. What about calling Clinton? I'm gonna mess his name up. Farrell.
I haven't heard his name mentioned yet.
He got resigned.
He resigned. Yes, but I think they like him too because that's experience. Remember, we're talking about depth on the team. We're not talking about necessarily these guys being the starters.
Even though he was starting sometimes.
He was starting, but that doesn't mean this year if they get that right guy that they want in there. Right. But you gotta bring some of the experience back on this team too, whether you like it or not. That's right now, I think that he did enough for them to want him back, and he was hoping to come back too. Didn't know that was one of those players that they did not know, and some got away. I can't believe went back. Dante went back to Dallas,
but for cheap though too. That was petty. That was petty.
But I'm leaving that. I'm gonna leave that alone. That one because again. You cannot burn bridges, but I thought he was a solid player last year too. I mean, he was the leading guy as far as sacks go. But I think that sometimes you have to let things play out because you may not get signed right away. And I don't know if he was in their plans, but he was in their plans enough for Coach Quinn to bring him over, Coach Witt to bring him over for Dallas. But
has Dorrance been signed? I haven't seen any. Has Dorrance been signed anywhere? I don't think I've seen Dorrance.
Is Dorrance still under contract?
Maybe Dorrance is still under contract.
Under contract. He had like a 3-year deal. Did he have like a 3-year deal?
He's still there. So
that's right.
And
so Cleveland was still playing. He had a knee issue.
Yeah.
But he still played, throughout the postseason and everything like that. Yeah, so I think you're right. It could definitely be like a depth signing when it's all said and done. But we'll see. You got to compete for his job.
Everybody got to compete
for his spot. For us,
your players, you got to compete. Because I still think that the Commanders front office is so aggressive in free agency. I'm looking to see who they're gonna bring in this week. because last week was like I couldn't even keep up with them because during the press conference we had so many and got one on Monday.
A lot, yes, one Monday, but it's a bunch on Tuesday.
Yeah, so it's like I'm looking forward to see who else that Adam Peters them have on their list because they keeping everything quiet. We don't know until they come forward to say this is the new player, and I like that.
I'm gonna tell you this front office, which is good.
Yes,
there's no leaks.
No leaks. I hate when
they don't play that.
No leaks. When I was talking about no leaks, when when it becomes public to the public is when we know it too. Because I love how they're navigating when people say what's on their minds. I don't know. All I know is when it happens, you're like, okay.
I'll say this. Let me see. My man who had a question. I like this one. That's his question. He says, I'm a little upset as a kid in De'Ami Brown. Was it just money? Yeah, it was money. Would y'all agree? It's money, right? Just money.
Hey, it's a business.
It's business.
It's a business. And I mean, if they feel like they're gonna get the same or better for the low, or if they're gonna get better for the same.
Yeah, I wish you
know. De'Ami, this was his first time. I mean, as far as his second contract. So normally your second contract is going to be your bigger contract. So because De'Ami finished strong last year at the end of the season,
he had to take advantage of it.
And then he finally showed what everybody was waiting to see from him. If he's going to get paid, then I'm thinking like I ain't mad at him going to get paid because your second contract is your big contract. So he is on. I think was it for 1 year?
Yeah, 1 year deal. It's a 1 year deal.
So therefore, he has to prove himself for that 1 year.
10 mil, I think.
Which,
that was 1 year, $10 million.
Yeah, which is good.
So that's big for him. So was the Commanders going to pay him $10 million? Probably not. So therefore, he has to make the decision: did the Commanders want him back, and what was that dollar amount going to be? Or were you going to take the money? Because at the end of the day, whether you love football, whether you love the team, you still want to get paid because football is only a certain window for players. So that big time contract is huge for him. So I'm not mad at him because the front office will say when they let you go, it's a business.
Facts. My man Aaron said, seeing the way they're signing the right pieces on the defensive line to work on stopping the run, it's very important, and there's more to come. Do you believe there's more to come on this defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, we saw a front office that was getting better. They were doing trade. Remember last year they traded Sam Howell. They were trading people on roster cut down day. They traded Jahan a week before roster cut down day. They traded John Ridgeway right on roster cut down day. They're going to be continuing to improve. They made a trade at the deadline, right? This is not a team. This hey, whatever it takes to get better. That is what they're going to do. And so we've seen them lay out a blueprint. So this is no different than what they did last year. I think we all would probably have to have a little bit more faith and understanding and knowing that that's what they're doing, right? Like that's what they're doing. And they're not going to let anybody walk out the door that they don't, it's just.
Or not plug in somebody else.
They got an answer. If somebody left, they got an answer for it. And so that's the thing that we have to continue to look out for. Whatever they don't have an answer for at the moment, they will find an answer for it. I mean, we have to remember, this is a team that made the NFC Championship last year, everybody. Now, what Zach Ertz said during his press conference that I thought was remarkable was, hey, we had 5 close games last season. Those close games don't go our way, it looks real different. So they understand, though, even with making the NFC Championship, not only do they have to maintain that same energy, that same record, all those things, right? But they have to make it convincing. Those close games is not really where you want to be because you don't know how it's going to go. But and it does. That 5 is a lot and would have looked very different than what we understand.
Yeah. And they got to get better this year anyway, because when you look at this schedule for this Commanders team this year, It's not an easy schedule. They're going on the road to play the Kansas City Chiefs. They play the Chargers. They play some of the other teams. It gets hard. They go to Lambeau. Not saying that Green Bay is the old Green Bay of the past, but they have a tough schedule. So they can't live on this. This is one thing about this front office. They're not living on what they did last year at 12-5. They're basically saying, hey, we have to get better from our 12-5 because, you know, as Candi said, we had some close games and it could have went the other way. So we got to get better as far as in the trenches where we know that these teams ran up on us. We were like 25th and 30th against the run. You know, you already see some areas on this defense that you say that, or this team overall, that we have to get better. We have to get better in the red zone also. We got to get better at the offensive line as far as helping the running backs. We got to get better as far as protecting Jayden Daniels where he doesn't have to run for almost the most yards as a running back quarterback. And on the defensive side, like I said, we've got to get better up front where we can get to a pass rush. We got to be like the Philadelphia Eagles that when they step on the field defensively, everybody's afraid of them like, oh, man, we got to be able to stop this one. You had Carter taking on two players. Two players had to handle him, and he still bull rushed them and threw them all over the place. So the Commanders front office is looking at, we saw some deficiencies on this team last year. So looking at this roster right now, as Lance said out at the combines, we're looking at every area on this team to see where we need to get better. And that to me is a winning front office of the whole season. They were plugging in pieces. You know how they got to the 12-5 season or a game from the Super Bowl is that they constantly throughout the regular season was plugging in important pieces when people were down.
And you saw this team release people throughout the season too.
Yeah,
people, and you saw them release some people throughout the year. Some well-known names was getting released every couple weeks, right? Because the stakes get higher and higher as the time goes on. And you all have heard me say this, right? Because they've been clear about their intentions, right? They're going to play into the second season. What is the second season? That's the playoffs. They desire to have home field advantage. We realize they care about seeding, right? They didn't want the 7th seed. They wanted the 6th seed. They ended up getting the 6th seed because Green Bay lost to the Bears, but they wanted that seeding. That stuff matters in who you're playing and who you're planning for to get to the Super Bowl. So when you start to think about the fact that they want home field advantage in the playoffs, Commanders fans, they want to bring a playoff game back to the area, to the city. They want to win in front of the home crowd. Look at what Philly did. Philly won a division. They had high seating. They got to sit in front of their home crowd the entire playoffs. They had to go nowhere, right? The Kansas City Chiefs didn't have to go anywhere. There is an advantage to home field advantage in not having to travel. The Commanders traveled the whole time. They didn't have to travel, right? So in order to do that, they got to win the division and have a great record. That's the only way you get there if that's what you want in the second season is home field advantage. So they got to, like Donna's saying, they got to be better than what they were last year because 5 close games is too many, right? It is way too many. And they have to just keep that composure and understanding and just planning because these teams is different. It's going to be different teams this year. And everybody's going to be after the whole thing.
Yeah. Commanders Chaplain Rev Rashid Fry says Sister Hopkins reminds me of one of my seminary professors. That's a compliment. Very educated and well versed sister.
Appreciate that, Professor Hopkins here.
Yeah, I'm gonna read his actual.
I'm saying, Candi, talk to Professor Hopkins right here.
Yeah, I would call you Sister Hopkins.
Sister Hopkins. She's Sister Hopkins. But I'm gonna read. He actually has for the show. He has a question. He has a comment for the show. He said, "No one needs to stay healthy, and he will have an impact for us, as will Lattimore."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing Adam Peters said because we know that there was some moments. It's like I don't think people understand. Marshawn was injured. Like he was injured. Like Adam Peters has said it out loud now, everybody. So it is a public knowledge that Marshawn was injured when they traded for him. But if he is taking a chance like that on an injured player, he believes he is a fit for this culture and the football team on the field, right? But when they were kind of, I keep saying nursing him back to health, even I couldn't catch him, but it's kind of like what it was. You saw in certain games, he eliminated half the field. He took half the field off. People know who he is. And they like, we're not even gonna fool with that guy because, and what I think some fans may not really know, Marshawn Lattimore is a beast. He a beast for real. He was injured, and so getting him back healthy, getting him back, getting him familiar with the playbook. I think, Donna, you can let me know, but I think he's already entrenched with his teammates.
Yeah.
I don't think that's nothing, I think that goes without saying, but then going back to the signing of Will Harris, I think that helps even the Marshawn, right? As well as the team and the culture, because that's somebody who knows him, he's familiar with him, vice versa. And they get each other. And I think there was a question too about building a team versus targeting a Super Bowl. I think it's the same. It's interchangeable. You're building a team that's targeting a Super Bowl.
Eric put this out there,
right? And there's no difference. You're building a team that is targeting a Super Bowl. And oftentimes, right now, because you got to think, it's pretty much the same teams that's been to the last 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. They either gonna have played for the Chiefs at this point.
Take that blueprint.
You know what I mean? It's not but so many teams that make it that far. And in the last 5 or so years, it's been the same pretty much teams from the AFC side. And then the NFC, I guess the Eagles is 2 out of the last 5, right? And then you get a couple other teams. So by default, then your veterans are going to be a little older that have experienced a Super Bowl win. Right? It's going to be older. That's just by default because the Chiefs done held it down for too long. Tampa Bay, then the Eagles. It's not, and you got to go based on availability. But when you're building a team to target a Super Bowl, you have to have that experience on the team, just not on the coaching staff. You want to know why? Because coach is not going to be with you all day. You got to learn from your teammates as well. And I'm going to keep saying this. You got to operate on the time of a Jaden Daniels rookie contract.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. That is, please know, use your clues. That is the biggest thing right there, because after a minute now, you're not going to be able to pay him on a rookie deal. But a minute now, you have to figure that out, because this is a rookie who got you to the NFC Championship. Yes, it was a team, but let's just be honest. When we're talking about these close games and all these situations, that's a lot of Jaden Daniels over there. Okay. So that's Jaden. He does this, we know what they're going for. So he does the same or more this year. You're going to keep him on a rookie deal. If he continues, if before his rookie deal ends, he wins a Super Bowl, you got to do what they did with Patrick Mahomes. Like, for real. Like, seriously. Because once he went and then he ended up winning the Super Bowl, what did they do? Right? So you're working against a different kind of clock, because you got to get this in while he's still on a rookie deal. You really do, before you have to go in the trenches and pay it.
All right,
it's a big. Think about that. I want to encourage people to think about that, because I know there's numbers games of younger and all that. This team does not. They need ready to play rookies. They told you that last year. So, like Donna was talking about, Ben Sinnott, Luke McCaffrey. We haven't talked a lot about Javonte Jean-Baptiste either, y'all. And he's a defensive end. He's a defensive end, right? Yeah, he's a defensive end. Jean-Baptiste. So they got an end last year too. So we don't forget about him. But then there's Dominique Hampton as well. That these players, they're going to be expecting them to continue either the level of play or they need to start playing. And then the rookies that they get in this year, that's why they were like, okay, we can do away with some draft picks, in my opinion, because whoever we get got to be rookies that's ready to rock. Right? And the days of development are done. They don't have that time. They don't have that time.
Got a question from my man. Words of wisdoms with Kev said, when approaching the draft, should the Commanders draft a pass rusher first or another position? I would say for me, and I could just draft the best defensive player available. But I ain't gonna lie to you, It should be a pass rusher.
Let me just tell you this. You will not have to figure out where I stand on this.
I know you're going.
Defensive end,
pass
rusher, because the draft is so loaded with defensive players that it's going to be one on because when I was out at the combines, I was looking at who could possibly fall there for the Commanders. It's one there that could come in and really be an impact player if they fall right, because they're going to fall. Some defensive pass rusher are going to be on the board when the Commanders pick. So I know that we're looking at other positions, but you have to. Championships are won with the defensive line, offensive line in the trenches. If you build those positions up and make them strong, everything else will flow if you get those strong. So I'm for the pass rusher. No
get
question.
You some goons on the line and they're good.
Yeah.
Get you some real goons on that line and you all right.
What did you say? Goons.
Goons. Definitely need some goons. Definitely need some goons.
You get some goons. And
and think about this. Last year, the draft was heavy with quarterbacks, offensive side of the ball. This year is right where you need it to be, the defensive side of the ball. So you haven't gotten that sure defensive pass rusher yet. If he's right there when you pick in the draft, you better pick that defensive lineman right there. And I know people are saying, what about tight end? What about this? No. I need you to pick on the defensive line. That's where games are won, right?
And then when you talk about the average age of the team, well, then we're going to go back to the point, right, of a Johnny Newton, of a Javonte Jean-Baptiste, whomever may be a pass rush or another defensive lineman on the team. Then that brings your age down for that position group.
Yeah.
Which makes all the sense in the world there. You know what I mean?
The age is kind of screwed. The average age is skewed because of like Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, it's skewed because of Bobby's dad.
But most of the players are super young. Most of the players are super young.
When you say 27, 30, that's not old.
It's not even. They go down
one team and everything. Because I guess y'all want babies on this team. They need seasoned veterans on this team. 27, 30 is right where you want to be because you're still considered a young team.
But I'll say this, but again, they're not even, they're still relatively very young. It's just like there's a couple players. It's like two players that are like that changed the age average.
That's all it is. And it's because
they're not old still. They're not old really still.
They're not old really, and they're not old really. Like Bobby Wagner isn't like old really. You know what I mean? Like, or even like Jeremy Tunsil is like
that's not old.
Yeah, like Jeremy Tunsil may be 29. Is he 30? I think he may be 30. Is he 29?
I don't know.
I think Jeremy's like 30.
But anybody within that 30 range, whatever, that ain't old as
it's not, but the average people see average age and they think, oh, you're on the older side. It's not, you're not. It's just
as long as you can get the job done, I don't care how old you are.
And they helping with the attitude. Everybody you can't get as now they might have been messy in some areas. We can all admit, we can all definitely agree on this. The Commanders team we saw last year, we haven't seen that in years. I'm talking about the level of execution. You facing adversity, they overcome it. You're talking about the brotherhood. You're talking about even the level of talent. I'm gonna go there and be like the level of talent consistently across the season from multiple position groups. You might have seen some position groups, bud in certain games or certain moments and all that. But I'm talking about the team and what they did last year. Phenomenal. And they made a name for themselves across the league where players are like, I'm going to Washington. Or, we ain't talk about the fact that DJ Reed picked the Lions over the Commanders, but we're going to talk about that. I wasn't going to say something about that. But that was his choice. It's you can, some people like Sprite, some people like Sierra Mist, some people like Sprite.
I know.
Like Pepsi, some people like Coke. But whatever. But I was like, I wanted to throw that pettiness in there. Like, no, he didn't. Which game did he watch? Like, but again, no shade to him.
Yeah.
However,
I'm throwing shade to him.
I'm like, he did what? He was here. What?
I'm throwing shade because he know.
But all right, whatever. This floats his boat. Wish him well. Okay, but
sink the ship. I'm throwing shade. Hey, Wally, I'm salty.
I see.
But I had to throw that in there. But I just feel like it's a testament to just who these folks are.
Mm-hmm.
And even your veteran vets, like, don't forget the fact that Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, even a Tress Way, even a Marcus Mariota, all those people wanted to come back and be here.
Didn't even look elsewhere.
Jaden. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Didn't even look elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They said we didn't even bother. Like, remember when I asked Zach, and it was too early in the morning. Zach must really be a morning person because he was really all into his press conference last week. And I was like, when did you know you wanted to be a commander? He was like, yeah, Candi, like last year. I was like, you know what I meant. I meant like, come back. I'm sleepy. And he was like, the game ended around 6:01. I was like, where do I sign?
Like last year.
Yeah, I was like, I know, you know what I meant. I was like, I am sleepy. But anyway, but he was like, the game ended around 6:01. I was like, where do I sign? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Like for somebody to say, I did not even consider.
And he said that he wished that Jaden was his quarterback when he was out of coming into the NFL.
Yeah, they love it. I'm telling you, Marcus. So Marcus wanted to be here. Absolutely. Marcus Mariota, after what he did last year, he could play somewhere else. He got to play somewhere else. He could. Like, for real, everybody. He could play somewhere else. He could.
I don't know about starting, but he could have definitely.
Gone somewhere else.
Somebody
you think so? You think so?
Want to be a backup? And then what I told Donna, and then what I told Cliff, where else you going? Where else you gonna go?
where
you like
going?
Here?
Man,
you just gonna leave Jaden? You can't leave Jaden. Why would you do something like that? Huh? Like what?
No, look at this. We didn't even mention this guy, Andrew Wiley, as far as they agreed to restructure his contract.
Yeah, he should have
back here. No, but I mean, even though he should have, but you didn't have to, or else he would have been here. But he really wanted to still be on this team. Remember, Wiley, whether we like it or not, they're looking at depth at positions too.
Yeah, I know.
So he's going to add. Maybe he won't be a starter this year, but he adds the depth because we know how much the defensive lineman and offensive lineman gets hurt. And if you don't have the depth on that in those areas, then you look at our center last year when he went out. Man,
that hurt.
That changed the scope of play. So I thought he was the most valuable player too.
Giannis was a beast.
The comment right there about Eagles fans still claiming Zach Ertz. That's why I just be wanting to put it out there. Like he wants to be here. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't want to go to the Eagles.
No.
Nah, he like. So yeah, I think that Wiley will probably be moved to like guard or something.
And let's not forget, Andrew Wiley is also a Super Bowl champion as well.
Yeah, he had Pat Mahomes, so he could be.
But they got you know what I'm saying? But to that point, they got Jaden Daniels. Yeah. So you can see.
Good point, Candi.
There's a similarity of wait a minute. Then you build in the culture aspect. Then you build in all that other stuff, and just the fact that him being a Super Bowl champion means he gets what it feels like. That he gets what the preparation is like. In the second season, in the long haul, because look, we weren't playing, right, Donna? We weren't playing at all. But that second season is rough. Oh my goodness, to keep playing at a high level. And see, we don't understand that, and we don't get that around here really because we're not used to it. We're not used to consistently going to the playoffs, making it to the second and third rounds and just playing straight through like that. So we don't know what that looks like. We didn't know what it feels like. You know, you got to have people in the locker room that understand what that takes, that understand what that looks like. And that has to roll off on your younger players. It has to.
Yeah, it's good not to be packing your bags halfway the season. But I like a comment that somebody put in there where some of these players signed that were with bad teams. So that means that they came to a better organization that's probably going to make them better. That's going to make them better. And that's the thing that some players don't fit in where they were. And you could see them blossom with another team that knows how to bring out. And let's say this. We have not talked about this coaching staff enough, that if this coaching staff was not in place last year, you probably don't see some of the development and some of the play that we saw last year, because we had an all-star team in coaching.
World play.
You look at that list, they've been head coaches, they've been winning with other organizations, and they wanted to come to Washington, and they all pretty much stayed here this year to come back, which I'm glad that nobody got away, really. So this coaching staff, to me, is where this team built some success also to help this team. Because I remember I asked Coach Witt last year, it's a lot of the players you're getting so that you can hit the ground running and you don't have to do a lot of developing and all of that. And he said, absolutely. So the team, the players that you see, this Commanders team already to sign in free agency, it was not by mistake. They want to hit the ground running still, because they can't have no trip ups this year, because as Candi and everybody said, the bar is up here this year. It's not right here. It's up here over my head, over my little bond right here.
Yeah,
real high. Hey, Wally, I want this bond so that
I said real high. I said, yeah, real high.
They got to be up here.
I'm telling you.
Hey, Wally, stop laughing.
And I tell people, you got to look at the clues. Use your clues. The coaching staff stayed together. The only people that do stuff like that are like the Chiefs. You never really see a lot of rotation in their coaching staff.
They all coming back.
A lot of that. They all said, we stand. And that is a big deal that they didn't turn over the coaching staff. That's crazy. That's wild. And to Donna's point, that was one of the things that Coach Kingsbury, I remember way back in week 1, because, he was getting back into the football, the NFL fold, right? And I had asked him about what was he most looking forward to, right, starting off the season. And he wanted to, he mentioned Jaden, of course, and just overall offense. But he said, the real thing is, it's this world-class coaching staff. He said, because I know that everybody is looking at all of us who have come together in an unlikely place, Washington, and they're waiting to see what we do. So all eyes are on the team, but trust me, the league, these coaches, these coordinators, they're looking at the sideline like, what are they doing over there? Because sometimes the real battle be coach against coach.
Yeah.
And strategy against strategy, scheme against scheme. That'd be the real battle for real, if you really want to be honest. And then the talent, you got to beat your man across the scrimmage line. But the real battle, a lot of the times is strategy versus strategy.
Man, Deluxe said, Wiley may end up being the new swing tackle to replace Lucas, or provide spot stars or depth at guard with Cosme's injury. Valuable piece of depth. I agree.
Yeah.
Question for you all from my man Cliff. Cliff said, what are the chances for Jaden's second-year slump? I don't like to put that in the air, but rookies have second-year slumps. It's just the degree of a slump.
I'm not buying that.
Well, let me ask you something.
Like it would be like I'll let me put it this way. People said that
who has had
CJ Stroud had a second year slump, but he took his team to the playoffs. So I'll take that. I'll take that type of second year slump.
Did Patrick Mahomes, I need to know players
who had second year
that had
slumps?
Second year slump.
Oh, I mean, there's players out there. There's a rookie slump. There's a thing like that. There's a term for that in all types of sports.
But like a quarterback,
I'm trying to think of quarterback.
But Wally, too many people play on that as far as
I know. I agree.
Rookie slumps and whatever. I don't play with that.
I don't play with that. We're gonna play my use your clues game. Did Patrick Mahomes?
Pat Mahomes didn't.
Okay. Did Tom Brady have one?
I ain't gonna lie to you. Tom was like the same.
Did Aaron Rodgers? Did
who had a second year slump? That's all I'm saying.
I don't think anybody had a second year slump. I mean, any superstar. All right, if you want to be real, Griffin had a second year slump.
Yeah, but it's pick and choose.
He was in a different environment.
Yeah, but I'm saying
to something very clear that I'm gonna always remember that Dan Quinn said this. I mean, we remember a lot of the things that
I agree with you, Paul. I agree with this statement.
But
I do agree with this statement.
that part right there, this person,
there you go.
Jaden ain't even about that kind of life. All right, he not even about he don't even know the word. He probably know how to spell it because
he don't know how to spell slump. He don't know how to spell it.
Maybe he don't. All right, you right. He don't know how to spell it either. And my thing is, Dan Quinn said, he told us, and I feel like this was in preseason, right? Like he was like, we're not trying to set Jaden up for a remarkable game. We're trying to set him up for a remarkable career.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that Robert Griffin III did not have was this coaching staff. These veterans around him. These people have corralled around each other, including Jaden, because people don't understand it takes more than just talent. You gotta have people around that care about you and about your well-being and your talent and all the things and all. They gotta care, right? And he has that. And I don't even think he built for that. Like he was too hurt when they lost that NFC championship game. He was too crushed. He was too crushed when they lost to the Ravens. He just don't like losing at all. He just doesn't like it. And he told us, he might have mentioned it briefly, but when he did that interview during their bye week on the boardroom, he said that 3-game losing streak was the first losing streak, he's never in his life lost 3 games in a row. And he was like, I don't like that at all. It was not going to happen again. It was the first of it. He never even experienced that. It was like, no, can't do this anymore. You got to understand, this is a different kind of cat.
Yeah, the mindset is not even on the radar. Let me just say this. His mindset, because this is the thing, when you look at Jaden's throughout the first year with the Commanders, each game, he learned something different. He learned how to read defensive better. He learned what they were going to be throwing at him. Each time he put more in his art, as far as in his book of what he could do, what he's seen before, how he got better, how he could beat this. So he got better in every aspect by going through a season of seeing what teams were going to throw at him. And he is a student of the game. This is the thing. Anybody that comes there beating everybody there at 4:00, I ain't even thinking about getting out the bed at 4:00 to look at no film. He's the first guy in, the last guy out, because he wants to perfect his craft even more so. So that is the reason why I say you're not going to see no setbacks, no slumps. And I really hate for people to constantly say that about quarterbacks, about you think you're going to have a slump and whatever. Each quarterback is totally different. Each quarterback also has, a coaching staff who helps them to develop. That's the reason why Mariota is so important to be still on this team with the Commanders, because he helped Jaden so much. Jaden will tell you in a minute that Mariota was so instrumental in helping him, in every aspect of the game, mentally, physically, and all of those things. But Jaden Daniels helped himself because he was a student of the game, where he put it in the classroom and then went out on the field and developed, and he got better each game and everything. So, and people constantly ask me that, you think he's going to have a slump? I said, this is a whole different dude. As Candi said, the mindset ain't even about losing and whatever. So I think you got to look at each individual player as far as where they are maturity-wise. Jaden has been battle-tested in life in general. And I think that helps him a lot in navigating through this game of football also.
I think teams are going to be, I think I said this to you, Ole, right? When they were preparing for the Detroit game, and I was listening to Dan Campbell's press conference that week, and he was talking about, well, they got a player over there that's dangerous, and that's Jaden Daniels. And I said, ooh, let me find out Dan Campbell's scared of Jaden Daniels. And let me be clear, we've been at practice with there all the time. But I really don't think, and I probably shouldn't admit this out loud, but I am, because it's part of who I am and being transparent. I probably didn't really realize until that time that people are afraid of him. They were afraid of Jaden. Like, dang, he ain't supposed to know that. Because he's just that smart and he's just that good, right?
Especially those last 5 games, they were
he was incredible, like seriously. But it was the staff, and it was Marcus, and just everybody around him helping him, as well as, like Donna said, which is so important, he was also helping himself, right?
Mm.
And so it wasn't until then that I was like, these people are really afraid of Jaden. Like Jaden is okay, but to stay that way and understanding that these defenses are going to be prepared a little different because they understand who is behind center. They know a little bit more. They know more about him now. So I think it's not necessarily, for me, it's not necessarily a slump. It's you're going to keep that same energy. You will still have to, you know what I mean? And but people, because going back to the Super Bowl, right? I will always say I felt like the Chiefs were prepared for Saquon Barkley. They were not prepared for the Eagles' defense.
That's
They were
true.
not.
Shut down that offense.
The Chiefs had something for Saquon. They did. They did. But that defensive line creamed them. Like he got them out. And that's what this team will have to look out for. And I think that's why you see the prepare with the Tunsil trade, right? That the only way to keep them out is to take out the quarterback. So you're going to see more defenses trying to get to Jaden faster. That's what we're going to see. So it's not so much to me about a rookie slump. It's going to see how these teams are going to be responding now that they know how much of a threat Jaden is.
I'm glad you mentioned Jeremy Tunsil. We're going to exclude Jeremy Tunsil. And we're going to exclude, Laramie Tunsil, and we're going to exclude Deebo Samuels in this question. Which signing or acquisition, not re-signings, but what signing do you feel like is going to have the most impact on this team next season? And I'm going to start with you, Donna.
So you're talking about what they have so far?
No, who they signed so far, not re-signs, not Deebo.
So I can't even say Laramie Tunsil.
Not Laramie, because he's easy. That's easy.
That's cheating, Wally.
That's easy. You gotta look at the rest. You gotta look at the rest.
Okay, I got you because you already saying Deebo Samuels and Laramie. Okay, so he ain't being fans. He's not being fair right now, but we'll throw those out right now. Because he won't let me and Candy put those two in.
That's easy.
I'll let you have that.
I was gonna guess Deebo for real.
Yeah.
We ain't doing Deebo and Laramie. That's easy.
I was gonna say Laramie.
We're not doing either of those. That's too easy.
I'm gonna go to the defensive side. I think that Jonathan Jones is going to be key also because I think that you needed another corner in there. He's got experience. He can be versatile. As far as inside, outside. So I think that to me, he's one of those key guys that they signed. I would have said defense and everything, but I got to see how these guys playing out. I think Keen's Law will probably be, but I'm just going to stick with the secondary because they added another important piece there.
All right, so Jerome says Will Harris is a big one. Him and Jones are huge upgrades to the secondary, in his opinion. Paul has, and before I go to Candy, Paul has, I'm going with Wise, Jones, and Kinlaws.
Hey,
I said one. I ain't want all three. I said one.
Paul. I only said one.
Paul, you been cheating. Now you cheating.
Hey, Wally, you really cheated too because you let me and Candy pick the.
Deluxe said this is not a fair question.
No, I think he's not being fair to you all. He's really not.
Hey, look, Candy. Same question to you. Other than Candy,
I was like, I agree with that.
Hey, Deluxe, don't do this to me. Other than those two,
you see how he set us up.
What?
Hey, Wally, that's almost like making a cake and you leaving the flour out of it.
Wale is an excellent moderator. We gonna give Wale his flowers. He does an excellent job.
You do, Wally, but it's not like you can't leave flour out and sugar out of the cake, or else it's going to fall. So you can't leave the offensive side of the ball out.
Look what man Paul playing the game. We got Jones. Look, he just went back and fixed his error. No,
you see. I'm like, Jonathan Jones is definitely a great answer. I'm going to say, and I know because I was thinking about Will Harris, but I'm going to go back to Ken Law because I know that's probably, he was a first rounder, right? He was a former first rounder. He was drafted by Adam Peters.
Yeah,
and go back to Will Harris real quick. He was drafted by Lance Newmark in Detroit, I think.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, he was in Detroit first.
He was in Detroit first. He was drafted by Lance Newmark. But I'm going to go with Ken Law because of the challenges, it's almost like, or the challenges are maybe not so, but he was on a team, right? That went to, didn't they go to the Super Bowl that year? No.
Who? Kinlaw.
Kinlaw.
He was on a bowl team. I think he was on the Super Bowl team.
Yeah. I mean,
his year was because they traded I think he could. If he did, he went to the NFC Championship.
Oh, well, God, he had to have gone to this. Wait.
Yeah, because he was with the 49ers last year with the Jets. Right.
He went to Jets last year. He wasn't on the team last year.
So he was with the 49ers, Adam Peters last year with the 49ers, right?
Yes.
He could have been because they did get, when they got rid of the other kid, I forgot his name.
I'm not sure if one of the 49ers Super Bowl
I think he may have been the year before. I could be wrong. I think he was the year after. I could be wrong.
Okay. I thought he was on one of their Super Bowl teams, but he was drafted by Adam Peters.
Yeah.
Right. And I just feel like
Paul said, yeah, he was on the team.
Right.
All right.
So it's just knowing Adam Peters draft right? Somebody that he drafted. And when we first asked him, when they with Chase. That's right.
With Chase.
He said, right. So wasn't he the one when he said he was on the team? Am I mixing them all up? They're all the same. Y'all help me out. All the things when he said he felt like that playing with Trent Williams and he was on the team. That Jordan Reed was there. He said it was almost like a kid because he was he's a fan of the team growing up. And so to be back, all that and stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to say, since I couldn't guess Debo, because Debo was going to be down.
I mean, that's easy.
I'm going to say Javon Kinlaw, because I think that whole energy bringing, and it's an Adam Peters draft. It's an Adam Peters for real draft pick. Yeah. And so I'm going to go with that one and his relationship with Daryl Tapp. So I think those two right there are those two important points about Kinlaw, I think, are a big deal.
I'll see. There you go. See, I like that. There you see that you played the game pretty well. See, look at you guys.
We gonna do what we
look at you guys.
We're gonna follow the rules, even if
you weren't trying to follow the rules. You was about to go. You about to go above the rules. I saw you. I saw how you was going.
No, because you didn't want to put the icing on the cake. You just want to leave it plain.
Oh yeah, everybody. We're not talking about the left guard they signed. They did sign a left guard.
Deluxe said it. Deluxe said there.
Yeah, they did. I saw that. Yeah, they did sign a left guard. That's what's up. I probably
would have picked a lot of the defensive side anyway. I
like Wise. I think Wise is going to have some impact. I like
Wise was a very interesting signing.
I think Wise is going to have
impressed. I was like, oh wow.
Hey, but look, Wise had 34 career sacks in each season that he had. So that's the reason why.
Not each season. No, she's talking about not each season.
34 career sacks.
Career. Yeah.
How many years he played? I like him as a passer. I like him on the I just like his pressure. He always gets like decent pressure. I think he'll be okay.
He does get decent pressure.
Well, I ain't saying he's gonna be a home run hitter.
Depth. We talking about depth.
Yeah. I think he's a good rotationary piece.
He don't get a pass rushing the drain.
They are. I mean, they are.
They got to get a pass rusher. I mean, some of the ones that I wanted
somebody.
And I still think that it's a rabbit foot getting ready to be pulled out. So, with this
they got money.
Because that money ain't even the object. So I still think that they're willing and dealing with free agency. And this is a thing about right now is in the first week and a half is when you see the big names come out and be signed. And then if they're not signed, then as they go lower in free agency, you're going to get them last unless they just want to set out for the season because they're not going to get what they want. Look how many players that did not get signed, big name players in free agency that later on in free agency that before the draft, they wanted to get connected with the team because they don't want to be sitting out for the season. So that's why I said it's going to be
a lot of people available.
Yeah, a whole bunch. So look, we just in week 1, and the Commanders have been like on the clock, just like really. This is the first time in a long time that I've seen them be this active in free agency, even with past coaches and so forth, where some of the players they're bringing in players are really need right now, and so. Like I said, I'm happy about what they've done so far because I know that they're not finished yet. They're a long way from
words of wisdom. I like these players, bro. I want all these drafts. I want both of these dudes. I went the kid from Boston College, and I went the kid from Tennessee. Everybody knows I've been wanting to do both.
I'm telling you, it's some good
That's
stuff.
what I said. You can't miss with some of those guys.
Yeah, I want all them dudes. All right, well, time to wrap this show up because this has been great. Always free. We did 2 hours strong, and it didn't even feel like 2 hours. I love you guys, man. You guys rock.
It didn't.
So I'm gonna start.
Wally, I wrote down something about you though. I was like, he doesn't play fair.
Wow, you said that you wrote down? Yeah, I don't play fair.
I know you don't.
I'm Nigerian. We cheat.
Oh no!
At least you admit it.
At least you know. Take a page out
before.
But what do you say? Candy, just take a page out of your book and be honest.
Just be honest.
Hey, I'm just saying. It's kind of in my DNA. So, all right, Donna. Before we end this, I'm gonna start with you, Donna. How can folks catch you on social media? How can they catch you on and catch your content as well?
Wally, could you handle that for me?
I'm doing that right now. All right, you know what? All right, it's on the ticker. I made sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and handle it without looking at the ticker. On IG, follow Donna at DJ Hop 32. On Twitter, follow on X. You gotta call it X now. On X at Donna Hopkins _ There you go. And on YouTube, please follow the Tony McGee Pro Football Plus TV show.
And
YouTube.
Also in the minute, our podcast.
In the minute too. There you go. See, look, I did it for you. There you go. See,
hey,
Donna,
I make him work for me. I make him.
Hey, Candi, how can you catch you in your content? I ain't messing with you, Donna.
So what is it? You can follow me on X at CWall SE. Make sure you all are subscribed to Bowie TV on YouTube and following Bowie TV Sports on X and IG. And you can also follow me on IG at CWall. You can follow me on Facebook too. I post content on Facebook too. Just my name, Candi Waller.
Yeah, you already know what time it is. Hey, y'all, appreciate y'all pulling up like Donna.
This was fun. Did not feel like fun.
This is very, very fun. Appreciate everybody pulling up. Make sure again, y'all
all the time.
Always laughing. Make sure y'all subscribe to all these channels. All the
Oh yeah, I sometimes I do cut up at practice, but I mean,
oh, listen to her sometimes.
You know what I'm saying? She trying to be all slick. Sometimes. It's probably all the time, man. It's probably definitely all the time. Probably.
Only cut up because Candi cut up.
Oh, now you blaming Candi for your cutting up, Donna? That's messed up.
And Wally makes me cut up too.
I did in the past, Donna. I apologize. I did in the past. I apologize for those days. Appreciate you, Deluxe. Appreciate everybody.
You keep trying to get Wale to come back to the press room. He won't do it.
Wally, you can join in the fun.
No, I'm good right now. I like my outside world. I like the freedom of my speech.
It is freedom.
I won't even lie. But anyway, I appreciate everybody for pulling up, tuning in as well. Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Thing for ages. Ayedig deuces. We are. So I can find it. Can I find it? All right, now I can find it. We are out.
Peace.